All right. Test.
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 Okay. All right. So, question of the day.
Mm-hmm.
It is not exactly about the art world, but as an artist, musical artists. Guys, my idiot question of the week is: give me an artist, a musical artist that died young or too young or whatever, and give me a scenario. Tell me if they would have lived, what they would have done. Where would they be at now, even? Give me a little rundown. Doesn't have to be. Give me a few sentences, whatever you want. Just what do you think they would have done? What do you think? What direction would their career and life, maybe, if you know anything about that, would go? So, does anybody have a starting point here?
Yeah, I'll start with. I've often found myself wondering when I look at rappers of the '90s, right, or people that were big in the '90s, and you see like Snoop Dogg cooking with Martha Stewart, right, and you see Diddy doing his thing and with his vodka, and everybody has endorsements. Or there's definitely a lot of rappers that were, or let's say Ice Cube in his horrible movie career, and his stupid family movies.
He was in Anaconda, so cool your jets.
Yeah. But it makes me wonder with like rappers like Tupac and Biggie, like where, if they had lived, would they look at these guys now and go, what the hell happened? Like, you guys, everybody sold out, everybody did this, everybody did that. Or would they have just fallen in line with everybody else because that's where their career would have taken them? So the Notorious B.I.G., Christopher Wallace, very near and dear to my heart, one of my favorite rappers of all time. I've often wondered, would he, back when there was like Run's House and stuff, would he have had a reality show? Like maybe where he's the dad, right? And they're raising their kids and stuff, and would it be something like that? Would he? I don't know. I tend to think, and this is a boring answer because there's a lot of fun routes you could go. I tend to think what he actually would have done is probably ended up being like a producer or something like that. A little bit more of like what Diddy did and stuff like that. But it is fun to think of, like, I don't know, Biggie getting into the reality world. Maybe he's on a dating show at some point. That would be fun. Like Who Wants to Call Me Big Papa or something like that. That'd be like the VH1 tagline, like a Rock of Love kind of deal.
Imagine the artist he could have produced, and like, in behind the scenes, like you were saying, like what he could have done there. I mean, the art, the music that could have been, from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's an interesting one. I definitely think of a lot of rappers and like how just definitely like rappers of the '90s, kind of how their careers have gone. And it does pose an interesting question as to like, had they lived and gone on, and how the culture would have changed as well. Like as far as around the music and how them being present and without the death of the two of them and all of that spiraling out of control, how that may have changed, and had a whole butterfly effect on everything going forward. So I don't know. What about you, Brian? You got any interesting ones?
The first one for me that came to mind was this rock band was, in my opinion, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, as far as sheer talent. They gave us some of the. I mean, every single member was super talented in his own right, from vocals to each guy playing his particular instrument. Super influential. And back in 1980, when the John Bonham passed away in Led Zeppelin, at age 31, the band decided, done, no more. And That's what stopped Led Zeppelin. So you reflect on that to where all these guys were younger. If John Bonham would not have passed away from, drug overdose, basically, that band, I envision they would have stayed together. Now, who knows how long a band stays together? Certainly, there's always things that can happen, how long they would have lasted and so forth. But I would venture to guess it would have given us more albums, more music, more tours, and who knows, but that was it. That was the last. Now they did reunite for like a special event that they recorded.
Sure.
Which, by the way, if you've not heard that album, Mothership, I think it's Mothership. They did no. They got together for some live albums. Go check that out. But Mothership was a collection of the greatest hits and all that. But where Jason Bonham, his son, I think, played with them at the time. So many people for so long have been vying for, because all the other members are still alive, right? But just never happened. That was it. So this makes me reflect on what that band would have continued to do for at least a number more years, if not maybe reunited over time or whatever it was. But yeah, just brought that band to a screeching. There's not many bands that have done that. I cannot think of any other.
Right.
Probably the other ones out there there are probably other ones out there I'm not thinking of, but there's been plenty of iconic bands that has lost a member for one reason or another, from a death or someone quits the band or something like that, but yet the remaining members somehow find a way to pick it up and continue, for at least try to continue on for a while. But Led Zeppelin said no, out of honor for him, we're not replacing him, just done. So
it's admirable.
that's the first one came. Go ahead. Sure, it is.
Yeah.
It is, sure.
And there's also something I think maybe to be said. I mean, I'm not doubting Led Zeppelin would have continued to make great albums, at least for a while, but kind of that better to burn out than to fade away kind of deal. Like, is it better that the legacy? I mean, you could say that for a lot of great or even Biggie and Tupac and stuff like that. I mean, going out when they did, there wasn't a massive catalog of music necessarily. I mean, they could have gone on for a lot longer, and same with all these bands with or like you look at Nirvana with Kurt Cobain or whatever, but like they're remembered in this time in which they were at the height of their powers, and they'll forever stay there because there was never anywhere to go or any way to let your audiences down or disappoint them, because what you've left them with is so universally beloved that it's kind of like you forever stay on that pedestal because that's what you gave. You know what I mean? That's where you went out.
That's your legacy.
Yeah, it's a great point. You're right. No one is sitting around saying that that last the 40th album by Led Zeppelin was it was
like
okay.
Zeppelin hasn't made a good album in like 15 years or whatever.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like it's
didn't hear that. You're right.
Right.
All right, Dean, what do you got?
I have they literally wrote a song was written about this artist. The Day the Music Died by Don McLean. My pick would be Buddy Holly. That guy was, if you just are outside looking at the peripheral of it, you just hear the pop songs that he wrote. You hear, you just see the black framed glasses, kind of good old boy from Texas, but musically he was just astonishing. And some of the kind of lost tapes, or not lost tapes, but more of kind of the stuff that he, kind of like what Tupac did. He performed a lot of stuff, but that wasn't done. So they're kind of it's off to the side. But I think he died in, what was it, in 59. And that was just on the verge of like the change in music, You were like 5 years away from the Beatles coming in, or less than 5 years away from the Beatles coming in. And I mean, there's a lot of people you can compare him to. Like, would he have gone the route of the Beatles and maybe done the pop up to there and then went psychedelic? You have, would he have gone country even, Because like Merle Haggard was there, on that tour. There were so many different paths, but musically, he was I think he would have been looked upon as one of the brilliant minds of music. I personally think he would have gone through a couple different things, but I think he would have gone the way of almost Bob Dylan. I think he lyrically he was so impressive. All right, I saw that my video quality was
we
poor,
still heard
so.
you the whole time, but yeah, you froze up a minute visually, but yeah, audio was fine.
But yeah, I think he would have gone the way of maybe Bob Dylan, where he did some real deep shit, and then he kind of got weird at some points. Like, I think it would have been really impressive. But what would that have done to other like known artists? I think I'm not saying he would have been as big as Elvis Presley, because Elvis Presley had a machine behind him with Colonel Parker, but I think he would have been not just the icon on murals and hop. What was it? They portrayed him in Pulp Fiction at one of the hopscotch restaurants. I think he would have been known as one of the most influential people in music if he would have survived. So I thought that was. I think that's one of the bigger loss, knowing what musically he could have done. So my pick's Buddy Holly.
Very good.
Nice.
Excellent.
So with that said, gentlemen, anybody else got anything else? Nothing? Mm-hmm.
I was pondering, had Kurt Cobain lived, which
I was thinking the same thing.
Gone.
Yep.
I feel like he definitely, like, Nirvana wouldn't have lasted much longer anyway. I feel like he eventually, the road he was headed down, he would have stepped away from it on his own accord. He would have just been like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. This is not what I signed up for. No. Maybe somewhere along the line.
Career.
I think, somewhere along the line, maybe he would have gotten back into music, maybe done. I could even see him doing like some folk stuff or whatever, just kind of as he got older, as his life experience caught up to him and things like that. And as he,
that's funny because I was having this conversation and that I had said that he may get into like folk stuff. That's cool.
Yeah. And when I was thinking that, I was like, I don't know if I'm just mirroring his life on Eddie Vedder's because that's exactly what basically he's done.
It makes
but I'm
total
like, it
sense.
Seems like that's what he would have done. He would have left eventually, and I mean, there's that road in which he steps away on his own accord, takes care of himself, comes back later when he's ready to do it on his own terms. Or there's Britney Spears circa 07, 08, where he just goes nuts in front of everyone in the media and like lives through being insane
if he would
for
have
a
been
minute,
clean,
and we all go, "What
I
the
think
fuck?"
you're going to the first one.
Yeah. I tend to think so.
Think, and then you would have the Beatles showing up on the rooftop. You know what I mean? You would get that Nirvana reunion, after 20 years.
Yeah.
And it would be the biggest fucking thing. And they'd sell out everything, and
I also put down, by the way, because Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. That would be very interesting.
I looked him up today. I mean, he was so young, 27 years old. 27 years old.
He's at the Forever 27 Club. Yep.
1970 he passed away. So he really only had a mainstream career. We should do a show on that sometime. What's that? The
27 Club.
Oh, the 27
Club?
No,
the 27 Club.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Jimi Hendrix, you're right, Brian. It'd be interesting.
I just picture him. He would have certainly continued to enhance his ability, number one. But he was such a power. He had the ability. You think about that time as well. He could have really went on and been such an influence on empowerment and everything else, and singing out.
Because there's nobody like him.
I would have loved to have heard artistically where he went over the years, like what kind of different things he went into and how his sound changed over the years would be really interesting.
Absolutely. You think about it, just the amount of kids that picked up the guitar just after a few years of Jimi Hendrix, how many more people he could have influenced and everything else. And I could picture him today. If he was still around, he would be you could still be playing acoustic sets or whatever and still be a powerful influence
Right.
into his
Crazy.
later years, certainly. So
Yeah.
It may not be alive. I'm trying to say. I don't know if he would still be.
Sure.
I haven't done the math.
Sure.
For how would he be
Right.
at 27
Right.
in 1970? Is he even possibly be alive right now? No, I don't think so. But he could have, certainly, had a much more of a longer lasting influence in the music world. So anyway, yep. All right, that's the two that came to mind for me.
Perfect.
All right.
Well, I think that was a fun little question.
Absolutely. Very good.
Hey,
Very good.
Team with Convincing Idiots, Brian and Nick here. Like and subscribe.